So short-term or long-term disability. So most of the people think, from a short-term perspective, if somebody goes out and they have a baby, this is designed to help protect their. If somebody's in an accident, off the job, car accident, anything like that, they get sick, it helps replace their income. And most employers, you might be able to handle things for a couple weeks, but for a lot of people, you can't do that long-term. And long-term disability is another policy that isn't talked about enough. And a lot of employers will think, well, that's a benefit to the employee. It's not really a benefit to me. It is a benefit to the employer, and I think a lot of people don't realize this. And we had another client who probably had about 50 employees that had a really key person that went down ill.
Welcome to the NOMI Network. I'm your host, Chris Williams. Today we've got special guest, Danny O'Connell. Danny's a CEO, healthcare benefit strategist. Danny, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, for having me on today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So Danny, tell me a little bit about what you got going there at the Next Level Insurance Agency.
Yeah, so like most people in our business who do insurance or benefits, you kind of fall into it, right? Not too many people grow up and say, man, I want to do that. That sounds fun. But after grad school, I was able to get into this business, and I recognized that if you showed up and you worked hard, that you could have a good career. And as I got into it, the more and more that I got into this industry, I just really found my passion. Most of our clients are business owners with less than 100 employees. And after being in the industry for a decade, I just saw there's a better way to do things. That there's what everybody tells you, status quo, go online, read the internet, whatever. And everybody's just getting bad information. I think we can all agree our healthcare system is not perfect and it needs to be fixed on many levels. There's not one solution, but there's so much out there that can be done that either people just, they get tired of trying to mess with it, or they don't get the right answers and get credible information. And so we wound up building a platform to really be a full service benefits brokerage. And with technology in the world that is now today, we have the ability to do almost anything that the largest publicly traded company can do. So our big thing is really focusing on elevating employees' benefits, elevating the employees of the company and their overall experience. And we know that that's going to elevate our clients' business. It's going to add to their bottom line. It's going to have happier employees, more engaged employees, and you're going to be more successful overall. So we wanted to reimagine that benefit experience. Think about how Chris Williams wants to be treated, how Danny O'Connell wants to be treated when you're having to deal with something.
Yeah, that's interesting. I always think about doing business like, hey, if I'm sitting across from my dad, I want someone to think about how would you treat my dad? So that's interesting that you guys created that, but you didn't get in, like you said, you fell into this later on in life. I almost would call you the professor as well. You got quite an interesting background. Did you get started here in Dallas? Where are you from?
Yeah, so I grew up in Tulsa and went to University of Oklahoma, first person in my immediate family to really go to college. And like every 20-something-year-old, have no idea what you want to do, right? And so majored in finance because that sounded good, and I liked history, so I minored in that and moved down to Dallas in 2001. And we were going through a rough economic time then, and had 2 years of 1 year bad job experience. Met my current wife then. We were dating and had an opportunity to go back, get my MBA, my master's degree at OU, and I had been kind of in the financial services industry already. That was my background. And so when I came in and came back to Dallas, it wasn't that far of a stretch to go from investments and planning and move over to that insurance side. And, had some fun along the way, taught a couple courses as an adjunct professor at a small college here in Dallas. Just very passionate about education. My wife was an educator, and we talk about that in our practice too. We know that if we can help educate people and help explain things and how things work, if people can understand how to use their benefits better, then it's going to reduce a lot of that noise, friction, frustration, anger over just having to deal with the entire system, and hopefully get better outcomes for people, in a quicker period of time, and and increase their satisfaction.
Interesting. So you mentioned your wife. Is she a part of your business as well?
She is. She is the majority owner. We are a certified female in business. So she is my boss 24/7, Chris.
I hear you. I hear you. So did you guys meet somewhere along the line? How did insurance cross both your paths?
Yeah, so we met in February of '03, and we dated long distance for a while. She was a school teacher, and I was going back to grad school, and her father had been in the industry. He had been a life insurance salesman that had gotten into the benefit side of the world and got me introduced. And she had some other family members that were working in the business as well. And I went into it just seeing that you could be successful, but I wound up really finding my passion, and I love what I do. And we really try to have that, permeate throughout our entire organization. And when you can explain the why and show your people what you're doing is different, you get that total buy-in to where they're excited because they know they're helping to make a difference and helping to change things.
Gotcha. So is your wife from Tulsa too?
She grew up in Dallas. She grew up in Dallas, went to A&M, and then she got her master's degree at SMU.
Cool. Yeah, I'm married to Dallas girls, went to SMU, whole 9 yards. So Tulsa, what high school did you go to in Tulsa? Tulsa, pretty big city.
It's grown now that I've gone. Everybody's going there, so it's grown quite a bit lately. I went to Bishop Kelly High School.
Bishop Kelly High School. Interesting. My sister-in-law is from up there, so I figured I'd ask. You never know, small world. So you leave Tulsa, you go be a boomer sooner, meet your wife, and I take it that it sounds like your wife's family's kind of had this insurance bug. So you've kind of been around it a little bit since you met her, if you will, in college, right?
So I met her after college down here, just kind of at like a social function. And
was she actually in insurance at the time?
She was not. She was a teacher. It was kind of funny. We always made a joke. She was FEMA. And so she would go in and help out whenever they were transitioning employee or needed somebody to come in and do something, do the training manual, train new hires, fill in. She was their FEMA.
Interesting. Cool. Cause I was just curious, like there is some family background in this insurance, which kind of poked your interest. So how did she get into this industry?
Because her dad was in it. And so she was highly organized, just great communicator, educator. And, I think she kind of grew up around it, right? With him doing it while she was going through school and everything, and would go in there and help out as needed, like any family business does.
Sure. So her dad had his own little brokerage up there, it sounds like. If you will, right?
Right.
Cool. Awesome, man. And then you get your MBA, you do some part-time teaching on the side. And then I guess you get married along the way and you have some kids.
Yeah, it was a busy week, Chris. We got married and I had one more class I had to finish up in Norman, came back from honeymoon, took my insurance license, got started, would drive back every Tuesday night to Norman to finish off my capstone class. And 2 months later, good Catholic, my wife was pregnant. It was a really funny story. Our son was born early, and you could see everybody like trying to do the math and figure out, like, wait a minute, was she? Oh no, okay, you're all right. He was doing our anniversary. He came a couple weeks early, and so I was one of those people. I'm like, and if you have kids and you've been in it, you're like, man, once I'm in the diaper formula phase, like, we're gonna knock this out. Like, when we're out, and I want to be done at a certain time, and so. We had 4 wonderful kids a very short period of time. At one point, we had 4 kids that were 5 and under, no twins. And so now they're freshmen in high school, 8th grade, 6th grade, and our youngest one's in 3rd grade.
Wow, man. How does being a dad translate to being a business owner?
So I always used to make the joke, I was a highly motivated salesperson. Because, in this business, a lot of it's commission and you're working and you build something up and then boom, I'd have another kid. So it's like, all right, gotta get back to work, gotta go. It's funny, you learn about people's motivation, communication styles, carrot or the stick, which works as a parent. It also works as being a leader, leading organizations. I think there's a lot of things that we as individuals can learn about communication that we just don't even think about. Self-awareness is one of the hardest things. We're all perfect, right? None of us make any mistakes. But from a communication standpoint, when you're trying to teach a child how to talk, how to walk, colors, words, all those different things, how to read, you're trying to communicate your way, but they've got to be receiving it. And if they're not receiving it, you got to change your style, right? And so when you're dealing with employees, it's the same thing. It's message and how that comes across when you're communicating with clients, with employees, with anybody. You may be saying something thinking that you got the message across, but how are they receiving that? And you understanding that, okay, I have to change the way that I communicate with this client, with this individual, this person, whomever that is, and really get that understanding.
Interesting. I guess it's, we have to be responsible for learning those folks, our clients and our kids, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Interesting. How long has the business been around?
Yeah, so we started up in 2016. We officially launched on August 1st, 2016. So it's been a little bit over 6 years now.
Okay, interesting. Talk about what made you open your own brokerage.
Yeah, for me, you just get to that point in your career where I think it was time and I was ready and I was excited. There were other things that I wanted to do and try out different things. There's so much in our industry that you have to be willing to, explore, be that early adopter and innovator, and that's where you get change from. And talk about it, the really big companies, the nationally public traded companies, the large firms, they don't innovate, they don't create change. They only change when they start to lose enough clients that they're forced into changing. And so that's a big misconception is, oh, you're on the cutting edge, you're doing a great thing, you're doing big things, and I'm sure that they do well for their clients. But when you look at innovation and change, it really comes at smaller organizations that create that are passionate about it and want to see things move in different direction. And that was me.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I used to work for a big 3M health information system. So you can imagine 3M, right? It's this big behemoth of a company. And hey, listen, we've been doing this way for 50 years. I know your way may be better, easier, cost less, all these things, but the ship is going in this direction. And so for me, that was some of the frustration I had out there in the corporate industry too.
Well, as consumers, you're taught to ask certain questions. You think, well, where am I getting this information from? Who's teaching me this? Where am I getting that? And most of the time we see consumers in our world, our space, they're asking the right questions. It's not, okay, well, this happened. It's okay, what can we do to avoid that? What can we do to be better? How can we address this? We talk with our clients and our team. We only want to learn a lesson one time. And in our world, one lesson can be very costly. And so we program and we think about how we can process around that. And a lot of times there's things that other people haven't even thought of or aren't even aware of.
Yeah, interesting. So moving into your own business, what were some of the things that you really wanted to adopt as your own company to bring in kind of that character, that individual company culture?
Yeah, culture's it, right? I think that's the first one to talk about. I think most companies get it wrong. You try to come out with a set of norms and your culture and everybody agrees to it. And then as soon as one person breaks it, they wear jeans on Monday or whatever it may be, you change policy. Well, somebody broke the rules, so now we got to change policy. And I think that's a backwards view. I think it's okay if somebody can't follow those agreed upon norms and culture, then they don't belong in that culture. And so every year, at the beginning of the year, first quarter, we have company-wide meeting and planning meeting, and we talk about what those characteristics are that are important to us and our team members. And we have a discussion about it and why and what that means. And so when people come in, we want them to understand those things. We talk about our goals. And so that was part of it, certainly was the culture. But I wanted to do more things. Most of our industry, a lot of times can be, okay, I'm going to solve one problem for you, or I'm going to do X. But we have to take a much more holistic approach to that. We serve business owners and CFOs and heads of HR, and their problems don't stop at how much is my health insurance premium? You know, you get into HR issues, employee handbook issues, Department of Labor issues, technology issues, integration, payroll, communication, all those things, you know, decision making, PEO versus going on my own. And there's so many different levers and buttons and things out there that they are now required to know. We wanted to be able to address that. I found like 10 years ago, I kind of figured out the way of, you know, for PEOs, for some companies, that's the right solution. But a lot of times they lack transparency and employers want transparency. And so we kind of figured out that pricing model. And so for you as a business owner, you may be like, well, yeah, I understand I'm paying more, but there may be some other value over here to me from human resources, compliance, whatever. So since we felt like we kind of figured out that pricing model and a better way to do it, we want to be sure that we can replicate that experience so that consumers and companies can move and make that transition, but not have to worry about other things or things being, you know, not serviced anymore, not being able to be handled. And I think that's a unique thing to our agency to really be able to address almost any one of those things.
Interesting, interesting. So as a business owner, I mean, you know, you outsource your payroll, you outsource all these things. You have to come to an agent to find this. So, you know, I'm an agent as well. So I hear you bringing this additional value. Walk me through what it looks like to be a client. You know, hey, Danny, I met you today at a function. I've got 25 employees. What does that onboarding process look for me that may not look like for someone else?
Yeah, and so we're very fortunate. Most of our business comes from referrals now, be it from a client or somebody else saying, hey, you got to talk to Danny, you got to talk next level, whatever. And so we want to have a conversation. Most people have pain points around plan, price, and process. We want to understand, okay, what are the things you're hoping to address this year? What's working well? What do you rely on your agent for now? You know, what is your expectation? You know, what are they doing really well for you? And then what are some things, okay, if we could make this a paperless process, would that work for you? Would that be beneficial? How do you address these things? How do you keep up with these things? We talk about their history, what they've done, what they know, because companies, you know, the issues, they change every year. It could be the same company, but different employees, different health issues, different claims, things of that nature. What are the resources that you have? We have a process that we developed that it's like anything in life, right? If you start planning and preparing ahead of time, you're going to get a better outcome. And so for most of our clients, our process starts 6 months in advance. Our competition, they typically, hey, you know, the renewal comes out in 60 days before the renewal. We'll start working on it then. We know if we start 6 months ahead of time, we can start actually having, I don't want to say control, but helping to direct renewals and conversations and things and making that process a lot easier for our clients and our carrier partners. And then in our process, we go through and we show our clients who on our team's accountable. We identify key strategic dates of, okay, we need to have this completed by this date if you want that to happen on December 1st. So we like to walk backwards with our clients to really explain that process. You know, we want to be sure that we're building in time for employee education and decisions. And so one of the benefits of COVID, if you will, and all of this virtual world is now for a lot of our clients, we're able to go through, do virtual benefit meetings and they'll record them. And so if we go through open enrollment and we go through your benefits and explain them in about 25 minutes, you know, your employees have a week or so to go through and make their elections, but them or their spouse can call us, ask any individual questions. We put together, you know, the benefit enrollment materials, the booklets. And so if Chris's wife is the one that makes up the decisions on benefits, you say, here you go, honey, we went through this. Here's a booklet. I'm going to email it to you. Here's the information. Call them with any of your questions. So we're able to take that off the HR's, you know, plate. And we feel like in most chances and opportunities, we should be more qualified to answer those questions and help give guidance and answer questions that people don't want to ask of their employer. And help say, hey, Chris, if you're this type of person, this is probably the best plan for you. And this is why. This is how it would work. This is how what you should expect. Like, tell me about what you all do, about your family, about your utilization, so we can help you find that right plan. And then in 3 months down the road, when Chris's company hires a new hire, we want them to have that same experience. So great, your HR could say, hey, here's our benefit booklet, and here's a video of our agent explaining our benefits to you. And if you have any questions, just give them a call, and you can log in the system, make your elections, whatever. But they're going to be the most suited and the best ones to be able to answer your call. And I think that's a shift that needs to happen. Like, people need to expect more from the benefits professionals and the agents that they work with.
That's good. So my wife's a therapist, so I'm doing a little active listening here. And what I think I heard you say is, man, we're your benefits department. Just call us. Let us do it all, and let us hold your hand and take this off your plate.
That's right. We know where human error happens. We know so many of the frustrations, and we think that we can help solve some of those. So we tell our clients, we tell them, when you're in the doctor's office or pharmacy and they say that your insurance isn't active, it's for one of 5 reasons. And put our phone number in your phone, call us, do not cancel the appointment, do not walk away, call us while you're there. We'll get on the phone, we'll get it resolved, because we know the top 5 reasons why you're told your insurance isn't active.
Interesting. So you mentioned your kind of business that you go after is out there from 100 employees and below. Talk to me about that one you mentioned earlier. We like to learn one time. Can you give me an example of, oh man, I learned one time, and what'd you learn as a business owner?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the saying in life, you get what you pay for, right? So this one really sticks out. It goes around short-term disability policies. And so most people don't know that if your company says, okay, we're going to go buy a short-term disability policy, almost every plan that's quoted includes what's called a pre-existing condition clause. And so it says anything you were treated for 3 months prior isn't covered for 12 months. So imagine that you go out, try to be the good employer that you are, and you say, all right, we're going to put in a short-term disability policy. And you didn't know that you had an employee who's currently pregnant. Or maybe the employee didn't even know that they were pregnant. And so obviously, hopefully they deliver the baby in less than a year. And so then they go, and you expect to have this policy there and help take care of earnings and wages, and they're going to have this paid out, and then be told, oh, well, you have a pre-existing condition clause on here, so you don't have any benefit. So we figured that out, and it's next to nothing. It's like a penny to get that removed. And we found that over time, every single plan is quoted with this pre-existing condition, because our competition all sells off of rates and cost. We want to educate you. So most of our clients, they wind up seeing a good savings on the medical side, and they wind up investing more on things like their dental and disability side. And we'll call up if your company says, hey, we love what you're saying, we love your approach, we want to work with you. You can move your policies over to us, and we can start getting in there and cleaning things up. And we had a group architecture firm this summer. They moved over to us, and they had a situation where we couldn't move the disability policies. So a lot of times, again, I could come to you and say, hey, look, it's going to be cheaper to move. Well, there was an issue. There was somebody that was transitioning from short-term to long-term disability, and it would have created an issue to that employee. We're like, okay, look, being a responsible steward, fiduciary, somebody that's, that you're relying on, we can't move because we have this situation going on. And so they said, okay, we understand, that makes sense. Let's keep that, keep those policies with that insurance company, and you can take over. And so when we contact the insurance company and our rep and our contact, we said, okay, and we want to remove the pre-existing condition waiting period. And even the rep said, hey, our policies don't have that. None of them have it. I was like, just go in and double check for me, please. And they came back and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that. We have a pre-existing condition waiting period on this. And so we went in and had it removed. And even the rep that worked at the company didn't even know that that was a thing.
Yeah. So for business owners out there, what's it called? Disability.
Yeah. So
waiver?
Disability, so short-term or long-term disability. So most of people think, from a short-term perspective, if somebody goes out, they have a baby, this is designed to help protect their income. But if somebody's in an accident, off the job, car accident, anything like that, they get sick, it helps replace their income. And most employers, you might be able to handle things for a couple of weeks, but for a lot of people, you can't do that long-term. And long-term disability is another policy that isn't talked about enough. And, a lot of employers will think, well, that's a benefit to the employee. It's not really a benefit to me. It is a benefit to the employer. And I think a lot of people don't realize this. And we had another client who probably had about 50 employees, and they had a really key person that went down ill. They said, man, you've been with us a long time and we want to take care of you. And so we're going to continue to pay your salary. So then over the summer, another person went down, maybe not as important. Well, now they set a precedent. You go out, we pay your salary. And then September, a person went down that was about to be fired and he couldn't work at that point in time. Well, now they set a precedent. So now they got to pay this employee wages indefinitely because they don't have a policy, they don't have anything in place, and because they've set a precedent. So for an employer, long-term disability, it helps protect that employee, their family, their income, absolutely. My father came disabled when I was 5. My brother-in-law became disabled when he was 15. So I've lived this and I've seen this. So it is a very important thing. But to a business owner, it also gives you a level of just confidence knowing, okay, if something really happens to Chris, I want their family taken care of. But it also protects me because I know that if something happens to Chris has to, they got to fill out, they have to have a doctor, they're seeing treatment for them, fill out theirs, and then I have to be able to fill it out. So I can provide for Chris because Chris is a great employee without bankrupting the company because now I've got to cover 3 people paying their salary when they're not performing.
Yeah, so I kind of hear you talking to that business owner that has a small family business or a big family business that treats his employees like family. And hey, we're just going to take care of you. We're just going to take care of you. And you kind of don't know what you don't know.
Right. Those situations happen and you don't know until it comes up. So again, we want to learn a lesson one time. Like, let's learn from that other company that got stuck doing it. Because at the end of that year, they're like, we're putting in a long-term disability policy.
Yeah.
Because if somebody's,
I take it this is something that's in the process that we're always evaluating for these business owners in the protection piece.
Right.
Gotcha. Interesting. Cool, man. That's awesome. And if you were to say, hey, ideally, we really, I know 100 and under employees, but ideally our sweet spot is, is it that 50, 60 range? Where do you typically find the meat of your business?
Yeah. So we can work with companies of any size. And we have companies that have 1,800 employees and 300 employees and 500 employees. What we see normally is when you get to about 300 employees, then the national firms start paying attention. You get fed a line of, oh, we're bigger, we get better deals, we'll put you in a special program. And if you're doing the work that we do, they're not. If you're phoning it in and just, and your agent's phoning it and not pay attention, then yeah, maybe they are. Maybe they could, but if you're working with somebody who's really engaged and somebody that's doing the work that we are, they're not typically going to get you a better deal. Just overall, we want somebody who appreciates our expertise, who wants to learn, who wants to know things, and who wants to rely on us. You said it before, like, hey, this is our benefits department. And so for a lot of our clients, it's like, okay, I know you're not handling this, but can you help us with this? I know you don't do this. Can you guide us on this? Many times we can help them and we can give them guidance. That's that mentality of, okay, I just buy something from you and I don't really know you versus, wow, you all have incredible expertise focused on helping my employees. You're trying to improve our business. Like you get it. You're helping me as a business owner. That's, we want people who want that relationship, not the commodity. We'll just go over here because it's easier for us, but there's no strategy to anything. So more so it's the mindset of the partner than the size of the group. The solutions that we bring, I mentioned under 100, because in our industry, there's been a lot of consolidation, especially over COVID. You look at the average age of the person that does what we do is probably about 57 years old, doesn't really have a retirement strategy or plan in place. And a lot of those people have sold their businesses. And so the stuff that we do with the larger companies, if you don't have 100 or more employees enrolled in your health plan, they just don't want to focus in that area. It's not right or wrong. It's just reality. The big name brands that you know of, they only want to focus on those companies that have 100 or more enrolled because that's where, meat, highly profitable. So we really want to bring those same solutions down to companies that have under 100 employees. And every state regulatory is a little bit different. Like Texas and Florida, very similar. And so for us, if you have less than 50 employees, there is a massive difference that we typically see. It could be 15 to 30% savings on your health plan, sometimes even with the same health insurance company with better benefits and more ability to negotiate, and clients even getting refunds. Because a lot of companies don't know that there's basically two markets that you can buy your health insurance in. And every main player writes in both markets. One plan is typically more expensive and pays your agent a commission. The other plan, it's less expensive and your agent doesn't get paid a percentage commission. So when your premiums go up, they don't get paid more. So what we found is obviously most agents want to focus in that first, the former market. And what we've been able to do is to go in and say, all right, we'll go in and offer this other market where we can actually get more transparency, better education points for your employees. We can negotiate your renewals. You could get a refund. And if we're going to save you 30%, 20%, we're not going to make as much money on this. And obviously this is going to take a lot more work. So we're going to do this under a fee arrangement. And probably a third of our clients are under that, and they understand it and they get it and they see the savings. And it's a challenge. When we lose a client, they normally have sold their business. So we like to think, okay, we've helped you clean up your books and actually get a better valuation for your company. Or when there's a change at that C-suite level. And so it's really easy for somebody to come in and be like, why are we paying you a fee? I've never paid my broker a fee. What is this? I'm going to go back to my old guy. And you have to educate and understand and show that value. Okay, this is what we do. This is what we've done. And yes, I get it. Your friend that works at the publicly traded brokerage firm says, well, they don't charge a fee, but they probably also don't service an account with 15 people or 20 people or 12 people.
Yeah, interesting. I think this resonates in my mind as, you mentioned earlier, you got this one guy out there who's looking at rates and costs, and he's just trying to get this deal across versus the actual value that it brings. It reminds me of, you've got those financial advisors out there who are on an actual advising platform, advisor fee versus a 1% of assets under management. So the guy with the assets under management is trying to get you to save as much money. The other guy has no dog in the hunt there because he's just trying to advise you on what's best for your in-term goal. So I hear that, hey man, hire us is kind of what I hear.
Yeah.
So why don't, I guess, let me ask you this. Why don't more people know about this second option?
Because one, most agents don't even want to tell you about it. They don't want to, they don't want to talk about it because it could cost them 75% of their revenue. So why am I going to show you something else that I don't have to show you because nobody else is talking about it, nobody else is showing you, and cut my compensation by 75%? We do it because we're passionate. We believe that everybody should have the same purchasing power. If you've got an employee with 15 employees, you should have the ability to buy insurance the way that a 1,000-person company buys insurance. And you shouldn't be discriminated upon based on your size. If we go out, we reevaluate the market for each of our clients every year, and really try to be more proactive. And so that's where we typically have mid-year reviews with our clients, and we start working then. Because we know that if we start working then with the insurance company, we can get that renewal at a much better place than saying, all right, well, we got 60 days to now work on it, and you got to enroll everybody in 30 days. So we really only have 2 weeks to work on it.
Yeah, I've really seen this. I sold cars for one of my first jobs out of college, and for a few months there. And I remember guys saying it's not hard to be a professional. It's not hard to be a professional here. And I kind of, in our industry here, you talked about, there's not a lot of guys are trying to slam these policies down. There's not a lot of people that are actually sitting and walking people through these policies. It's quite surprising that people would even buy something like that. So, but they do. Talk to me a little bit about your business model in terms of where you were the first year and where you are year 6. Would you believe where you are? Is this what you planned on? Kind of what's the growth look like for you?
Yeah. I was fortunate when I was able to just go and really kind of start my agency, and we had some great clients that came with us. I used to do a whole lot in social media and poured a lot in there and kind of got our name out there. I think for the first 3 years, we didn't even have a website. We had a Facebook page, and it was just referrals and blowing and going and doing well. And, with everybody, you've got really great years, and then you've got okay years. And last year was one of our best years, a phenomenal year, first quarter of 2021. We actually we have goals of where we want to be, and we hit our goal for the end of this year, almost a year in advance. And so that's allow us to grow and add more employees. We're doing a lot more out of state than probably what I expected. So we have, clients, Florida to Massachusetts, Wisconsin, Ohio, people call us from California, Arizona, Oklahoma, Louisiana, all over the place, Illinois. And it's just that referral word of mouth. And I've been very, very spoiled. And I put a lot of pride in what I do because, we don't have a product. It's not a tangible thing. It's not a car. It's not an iPhone. You're buying me and you're buying our expertise and what our team can do. And we are very, we want everything to be professional, the way it looks, the way it goes to your employees, how your people are treated. And so because of that and what we put in, we teach our team that. That's why we get so many referrals and why we spread the way that we do. We're very blessed, very fortunate when you look at the amount of people that we're able to help and what that does for our business. Of course, we got approached about being acquired by companies, but it didn't make sense because it went back to that word you said at the beginning, the culture, right? Most people don't want to have the culture anymore of, okay, I got to roll up my sleeves. I got to get in here. I got to do the stuff that nobody else wants to do. I got to get dirty with it. But that's been a big part to our success. And, with everything that you do, there's another challenge. And we talk about having kind of that Apple mindset. A new iPhone comes out and it's going to be similar probably to what it was before. But when that iPhone comes out, guess what? They're already working on iPhone 15 and they're probably already 60% of the way there. So we need to get something and we want to get out to market. We want to improve that experience, but we want to be evaluating that and seeing how we can improve that. Okay, here's our employee benefit booklet. How can we make these better? How can we put more real life information in there? Yeah, it's got to have 30 pages of disclosure, but how can we make this more meaningful to the employee? How can we make that open enrollment meeting better and more impactful and more meaningful? How can we get better outcomes? How can we address the claims issues and things that we know that we're going to have?
Yeah, those are all valid questions and value adds, if you will, to the process. So you mentioned selling in other states. Are there any states that you aren't able to write business in?
Not really. It's, each state is unique. And so they do have their own quirks, if you will. And so there's things that we can do in Texas for companies who have under 50 employees that in California you can't do unless you have less than 100 employees. And there's just different nuances and restrictions. It's probably 90% of it is the same from one state to the next and all those things. But we'll have partners and people that we'll reach out to as we get into states and, become familiar and then understand it and really become experts. And, we have a compliance partner that we bring in because the ever-changing world of that, I'm not the expert, but I want to be sure that I provide an expert solution for my clients to manage that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So you are fully protected. You've got lots of advisors that you can lean on there around this. Talk to me what you mentioned earlier about the business has been really good 2021, but do you think that 2020 had anything to do with that? And what did 2020 with the Corona look like for you as a business owner? And managing employees as a business owner and managing employees, what all did it look like for you?
Yeah, that's great. So fortunately, when we started the company, we were really already set up to be virtual and we had some people working remote. We were already kind of cloud-based, voice over IP, all those things. So from an operations standpoint, we literally lost nothing. There was no interruption there. The hardest part was trying to hire and train and bring people in because in what we do, the way that we do it, it takes you at least 6 months of training to understand our methodology and our process. And then after about a year, you have it down and then everything changes in the industry. And so that was challenging. Our business was pretty flat. Nobody was really making a lot of moves. There was a huge opportunity for business owners. And so it was just getting in front of the right people and a willing audience. And so we could see, during, the height of that pandemic, if Chris needed a shoulder replacement, Chris isn't going in to have surgery. Nobody's going anywhere near hospital because, we get COVID and all those other things. And so the claims plummeted. They were nowhere near what probably everybody thought that they would be. They were nowhere near, what the government said that they had to be. So they created a tremendous opportunity. If you had a really good advisor, if you're working with next level, for us to go in and negotiate anything, because the insurance company said, well, we would rather invest money in renewing business and acquiring new business than writing refund checks. So we were able to go out and clients that had horrible losses, weren't running well, we were able to get a rate reduction, 10%, 17%. And then we didn't want it to be this one-time thing and then you get pounced next year. So we were negotiating 2-year rate guarantees because we knew coming out of the pandemic, it's a huge spike because of Chris needs shoulder replacement. Chris still needs shoulder replacement. Those things still have to happen. And sure enough, in the beginning of 2021, there was a correction in claims and rates did go up. And I think, people there was a 3-year period where they didn't do anything because of coronavirus and pandemic. And then they went out and, the cycle kind of resumed itself. And now this year, there's a lot of people, we just made changes last year, revisited this or whatnot. But there was a huge opportunity for employers because at the end of the year, United Healthcare says, okay, we had $140 million surplus. Oh man, we're all rich. Wait a minute. We insure 70 million people. So am I getting a $2 check back from United Healthcare for my group plan per employee? Or, we're able to go in and we were able to negotiate, like I said, not only rate decreases, but even no bill for a month. So you think about what that means for companies. There are companies out there that pay, certainly with less than 100 employees, that pay $30, $50, even $100,000 a month towards their health insurance. So to be able to get a rate decrease, no bill for a month, and 2 years of a rate guarantee, that is meaningful to that bottom line. And so that was just for the companies that we could help, we're very proud of that work, but there's definitely a missed opportunity there because I think a lot of the industry was like, we're in a pandemic, you can't change, you want to change your health insurance, you can't do any of that. How are you educate where the steps going to be like, and you got a pretty decent renewal. But there was definitely a missed impact there.
Yeah, that's interesting. So lucky for those folks who found you during that time, right?
We like to think so.
Cool. Listen, hey, for those folks that don't know you out there that want some health insurance for their business, how do they find you? Where are you located?
Yeah, so our headquarters are in Dallas, Texas. And then we have some employees that work remotely in different states. And
I was gonna say, talk to me a little bit about your team. How'd you find these folks? How valuable are they to you? And will if I called in, would I hear from these folks?
Absolutely. So Chris, I make the joke that I'm now the least qualified person to work at my company. I don't know any of the blocking and tackling anymore. I don't know how to do this or that, but I know strategy. And so for people, it's not just people that want to buy health insurance, but somebody that doesn't. They're tired of the same answer. That they want something fresh, they want approach, they want better service. If I can pay the same amount and get 10 different benefits or features or things, when you sold cars, 10 more bells and whistles for the same price, I'm going to do that all day long. So if I'm going to pay it and I can get, technology support and HR support, compliance support, and all these things from you, then by all means, let's sync up with next level. But for people that are just tired of being told that, there's nothing else out there, you're a great place, want to contact us. And again, going back to, I think, the change in the labor market over last year has been really good to us. A year ago, we were trying to hire, and it was really hard to find somebody. It took us 6 months to find a person because we would have found the right person. But over last year, we've been able to hire a lot of really experienced, great people that worked in large companies. And when you work in a large company, you talk about 3M, when you work there, you get hired to push a button, pull a lever, and that's your job. You got hired to do this, and that's it. And in our industry, there's such little invested in developing your people, educating your people, empowering your people. I've had employees come to me that their previous employer said, well, no, you can't talk to the insurance company. I'm the agent. I do that. And it's like, whoa, what? Yes, ask them the questions. That's what they're there for. Like, who can get the fastest response time? Go directly to a rep, go directly to that company. And empowering our people make those decisions and have input. We talk about, when we do changes in the organization, we want everybody to have input because I don't want to make a change not knowing that this is going to have an adverse effect on Chris and what they're doing. We want to be able to see things from all sides. Again, learn a lesson one time. And so hopefully when you call in, you're going to talk with one of them and they know, if you want to talk with myself or we have another agent here, to get that scheduled and on the calendar. We don't want to be playing phone tag. It's not, Chris called in here, call back Chris. So then I get to the message at 6 o'clock at night and I call Chris and we just go back and forth. We want to avoid that. We want to be able to set a time, either in person, virtually, and really get to know and understand that client, talk about next steps. We let them know, the decision is yours. Most of the time at the end of the call, it's okay, do you want to go right or left? How can we reduce the friction? So I don't want you to have to make a billion decisions. It's okay. If you proceed this way, this is the next step. If you proceed this way, that's the next step. If you do nothing, you'll do nothing. You go through benefits presentation. Okay, I don't need the name of the insurance company. I don't need the plan. I need to know, do you want to go right or do you want to go right or do you want to go left? Which way do you want to go? That's it. And most of the time it's pretty self-explanatory. It's good. I just need to make one decision. Okay, so we'll make that decision. Then we're going to move on to the next one. And we got some homework to do between now and next time that we meet. And we're going to do this. The next time we meet, then we'll narrow it down even further.
Interesting. That's cool. Having a good team that surrounds you is very important. That's for sure. Well, listen, how hard is it for the business owner out there who is, I'm 5 years in, I'm 6 years in, and hey, I've just been with this agency for so long. How hard is it for a business owner to, man, I feel like it's going to take me a long time to gather all this information. It's going to, it's going to be time consuming for a business owner. What do you tell that business owner?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It just depends on what you want to do. If you're like, man, I'm tired of doing what I'm doing, there's got to be a better way. Like, can you help take a look at this? Then it's very easy. Then you can move your policies to our agency, and it's literally just signing a letter. We had 2 companies that did it this month. They were just tired of being underserved and not getting good answers. And so you sign the letter, and then we can contact the carrier, and we can get almost everything that we need. There's a couple things that we still need. If you just want us to go out and get some numbers, we're happy to do that. And the biggest thing is kind of the census of your employees. We tell people, there's a handful of things that we need. Copy of your invoice, so we know who has what. Copy of your benefits booklet. You'd be surprised how many companies, their agents don't even put a benefits booklet together. Their HR departments don't even know what they have. They're like, well, let me find the summary. Let me get a summary from our benefits agent. It's like, no, you should have a benefits booklet. So how do your people learn about those things when they come in? So we put that together. So that's kind of a question to put out there. So a copy of the bill, copy of your benefits, and a copy of your census. And most of the time, we can get running with that information and hit the ground for you.
Listen, I'm ready to outsource it all today. Listen, I appreciate that, telling me all this. Also, one thing I wanted to note, you've got something on your profile here that talks about, you're an author. Have you written a book before?
Yeah, so I used to write a lot of articles. It was kind of funny. There was, industry publication, and I saw somebody on the cover. I was like, man, that's a friend of mine. I know her, but she's not that smart. Why is she on the cover? So I was like, hey, oh yeah, how'd you do that? She was like, well, you need to go on the inside of that magazine, open up, contact the editor. I was like, okay. So started doing that, and I started doing a lot of interviews. Well, you never know the motivation of the person doing the interview, and a lot of times they would kind of change the words around or cut things out, and they would kind of use it to suit their own deal. And so then I decided, no, I'm going to start writing, and I would release them through the PR web, which is kind of like the AP wire, and it would get picked up all over the country. And so I've got over 35 different published articles, from CBS Money Watch to Sacramento Bee Times to places you wouldn't even believe exist. And I did that. I loved doing it. It was therapeutic for me. And I did a lot about the Affordable Care Act because I wanted to educate people. Like, regardless of your politics, like, people need to understand this. And wound up getting audited by the IRS that year. So that probably slowed some of that down. But I still do a lot of interviews and things, speak all over the country, spoken internationally on just a myriad of topics on leadership, sales development, on what we do. I've taught classes and seminars to other advisors on what we do. My attitude is, what I'm teaching you, I'm doing, I've already done. And I want everybody to be able to help impact change in this industry. It's not just me. I don't want to keep it a secret. Everybody deserves this. And if you can beat me, if I tell you what I do and you can beat me at, at my game or whatever, good for you. I need to learn from that. So I have no problem, sharing with other advisors what it is that we do if it means that the consumer and, every American gets better outcome at the end of the day.
That's good, man. This has been a great interview, Danny. I really appreciate your time on this. It's been a super pleasure getting to know you and your business here. Like I said, we'll be sure to attach all this stuff onto our social media so people can see this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here. Love talking about it. We're passionate about it. And I appreciate the platform to share.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.